Hey everybody, Quasimojo here with you, Metalholic Radio on a hump day Wednesday night. I hope everybody is doing wonderful. We've got one hell of a show lined up for you tonight. You already know we're going to be talking to Adler. We're going to be talking to Witchburn. But right now I've got a surprise, an unexpected surprise. The renegade rock goddess herself from Picture Me Broken, the Twisted Angel, the lovely and talented, did I say lovely? Layla Brooklyn Allman from Picture Me Broken is here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing absolutely wonderful. How could I not be doing well? You're here with us live on the air. I wasn't planning on that, but that's okay. That's absolutely wonderful. We are so stunned. Absolutely. That's what rock and roll is all about. So let's jump right to it, because you guys got coming out next Tuesday, your new EP, Mannequins.
Yes, we do.
So we're all excited about that, and when we get done talking, we'll play a track off of that. But you guys have had a very eventful year. Fill us in on what's been going on this year.
This year has been very hectic for us. I mean, it kind of commenced with the recording process of our new album in last January, which we wrapped by the first week of March. We were really planning on just releasing that album during the summer, but so much went on with us, and we were kind of dealing with some internal struggles that it sort of push came to shove, and we just wanted to get some music out, so we decided to put this EP out, which is coming out next Tuesday. But yeah, no, I've been working with a brand new lineup. We got a new drummer this year. We've kind of been discovering a new sound and a new direction. So I guess, yeah, it has been pretty eventful on the inside.
Well, and this is just sort of the taster for Corrupt Me, which is going to be coming out.
Absolutely.
Now, when do we have some idea of a date of when that's coming out next year? Early, mid, late?
I think it'll be more towards the first half of the year for sure. We're actually going to be going back into the studio to do some more songs for it since we decided to put this EP out. But yeah, Corrupt Me, it was originally just going to be Corrupt Me, but then we decided to add Mannequins, and the two kind of go hand in hand conceptually.
And what is sort of the concept for this? My understanding is it sort of had something to do with the music industry, at least Mannequins does.
Yes. I mean, I write my lyrics from a very personal standpoint. They're very narrative of my own life, and the band kind of went through their first year of really getting into the nitty-gritty of the music industry and the business end of it and dealing with different characters, and I think Mannequins is essentially a metaphor for the falsity of both people on the business end and the artist end of the music industry. And, you know, we've noticed a lot of people will kind of feign a certain kind of artistry to appeal to a scene, and a lot of labels and people on the business end will try to put you in a box. So the cover of our EP kind of features a face with plastic surgery lines written on it to kind of represent how people are cut up and manipulated from the artists they really are. And we kind of wanted to share our struggle with that and the importance to, you know, remain true to your own vision.
Right, and you can't put Brooklyn in a box. I mean, what were they thinking?
Hell no.
Well, there's so much great stuff to talk about, but let's start with the obvious. You come from a strong family background of musical brilliance from your father, Greg, your uncle, Dwayne. Did you feel that a lot when you were growing up, did music sort of find you exclusive of your heritage, if you will?
I think it's been pretty exclusive of my heritage. I mean, I never grew up with my dad. I see him occasionally, so I don't think his influences has been like a significant factor in me pursuing rock music. My dad has just now started to become interested in our music after hearing our last album and realizing how serious I was about it. So I definitely think that it's inspiring to know that people in my family have achieved such, you know, incredible honors in the music industry. So I guess that's inspiring, but it doesn't really go beyond that.
Right, and obviously the musical direction's nowhere near what...
Nowhere near it, honestly. Yeah, I always wanted to pave my own way, and a lot of people will assume that you have it easy if you're related to somebody famous, but I actually think it's kind of a hindrance in some aspects because people assume everything's handed to you, and nobody's really wanting to help you because of that, so you actually have to work twice as hard in some aspects.
Well, that's
Most people wouldn't believe that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I was going to say. Well, and it's sort. If anybody knows the background, they know that, you know, you were sort of later in his life. It wasn't part of a marriage and whatnot. So I always sort of wondered how much contact there was. But you've been chosen the last 2 years among Revolver Magazine's hottest women in hard rock. As relatively young and new as you are to the industry, do you worry that people will focus more on your beauty and, of course, your family name rather than the music?
I always say this with the Revolver thing and featuring women for their sexuality. Some people will argue that it cheapens the artistry. I think that it would be a double standard not to capitalize on sexuality as a woman in rock music, because I think, ever since Elvis, men have capitalized on that, and for some reason when women do it, they're viewed as like sluts or floozies or something, but I don't think it's at all like that. I think it's just there's no rock and roll without the sex factor. I think that's really important. Rock and roll is kind of dangerous and glamorous, and I think it just goes hand in hand.
Well, so you got to ask, do we have the hottest chicks in hard rock and metal now with like you and Lizzie and Amy and all those great, or did we have the hottest chicks back when it was Axl and Sebastian?
Exactly.
Because damn, from the back, most guys got confused anyway, so.
Definitely.
Now, you guys released an EP and your debut album through Megaforce, but Mannequins and Corrupt Me are your Standby Records debuts. Why the change in label?
Yeah. Well, the Megaforce deal I got when I was 16, it wasn't a full production deal. It was just a distribution deal, so I'd say we put that out by ourselves. And then after that came out and we started, getting a little bit more serious. We wanted to sign to a label to do a full production deal, so we ended up signing to Standby, so I guess it's just kind of taking that step forward and putting something out. This is kind of our first release with a real record label that's a full production deal.
Nice. Now, in your mind, is there a stylistic change from the first album or just sort of a maturation and growth, if you will?
I think there's very much a stylistic change. I mean, I have 3 brand new band members in this lineup because when you start a band as young as I did, people are inevitably going to choose their paths in life, and, people are going to be pulled apart as they grow up. So this is kind of my quest to find the serious musicians who wanted as bad as I do and who wanted to make Picture Me Broken in their career. So I guess over the years I've uncovered that lineup, and this is the first release to feature that. And I think that the musicians I chose are stylistically polar opposite from some of the musicians I worked with on Wide Awake, and I guess I kind of wanted to move away from the scene and the screamo and the post-hardcore, and I just wanted to be a straight-up rock band. And I know we released our first single, and people are like, why aren't you screaming as much? And, not that we're not screaming on the rest of the album and the EP, but I just kind of wanted to show that we are more than just the band with the chick screamer. We're kind of, we wanted to show that we're songwriters, that we're musicians.
Right, and this isn't an overnight thing for you. I mean, you started getting involved in all this stuff as young as like 12 years old. You and
I was 12. I've been doing this for 7 years. I mean, I guess I chose what I wanted to do in life so early on, and I've always focused on it, and it's been wonderful. And I'm glad I started at such a young age, because now at 19, I have, hundreds of shows under my belt and a couple releases, and I feel like I'm going into the world kind of knowing what I'm doing, and I'm excited to, continue to improve upon my craft that that was my dream since I was a kid.
Right, and your bassist, Austin Dunn, has been with you basically since you guys were 12. You guys sort of started up together, but you write most of the music with your guitarist, Dante Phoenix, but he's a newer member of the band. So has having him as a songwriting partner also helped change the sound of the band in your mind? How does that dynamic work?
Absolutely. I mean, Wide Awake, I wrote with my guitar player, Nick Loicano, who decided to leave the band to go to college, and we all respect his decision. And, he still kind of produces us and works with us occasionally, but I had to learn how to write with somebody else after I'd written with one person for so many years. But, I found Dante through Andy from Black Veil Brides, even before I needed a guitar player. And he's like, you got to put this guy in your band. And, fate would have it that my previous guitar player quit 2 weeks later, and then I met up with Dante, and we kind of saw eye to eye, and we have a lot of the same musical influences, like AFI and My Chemical Romance. I think that Dante is a great writer because he really sees the song as a whole and pays attention to vocals, and a lot of guitar players, will be up their own ass about it and will not care about vocals and shred over everything. So it's definitely been really great working with Dante, and has changed the sound quite a bit.
Now, I know for you that you were, I know you're a big fan of a lot of different music, a lot of pop stuff from Europe and stuff too, but I know that Heart was a big influence. Ann Wilson, big surprise, a voice like that.
Absolutely. She's amazing.
Are there any modern singers that, because you were on the list with a good lot of them, but are there any modern singers, male or female, that really sort of inspire you?
I get made fun of for how much I usually disregard classic rock. It might just be rebelling against my heritage. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to like classic rock. I'm not going to. But yeah, Heart's definitely one of those exceptions to the classic bands. I love modern bands. My favorite band is AFI. They kind of got me into pursuing darker rock music. You know, when I was 10, I bought Art of Drowning and Sing with Sorrow and fell in love. As far as other artists go, I'm obsessed with this British pop artist named, his band's name is IMX. I love Alkaline Trio, My Chemical Romance, etc. I think modern rock's great, Muse, etc.
Now, you got, for the new album and for the EP, you worked with David Bendeth, who's done Paramore, Papa Roach, Breaking Benjamin, and a lot of other great bands. What was that experience like working with him?
Well, I actually hit David up when I was 14. I was just this kid who thought they could do anything, and I'm like, David, I'm gonna record an album with you someday. And he's like, okay, kid, sure. And I sent him my songs, and he saw something there, and he's like, work harder, kind of build up your band and work on your songwriting, and then come back to me in a few years. So sure enough, I came back to him in a few years, and I'm like, okay, I'm signed now. We're about to do a new album, and I still want to work with you. And I sent him some demos, and he decided to take the project on, which was absolutely an honor. I think David's brilliant. His mixes are unparalleled, and it was definitely a pretty grueling process recording the last record, and I learned so much, kind of got my ass handed to me.
Right, well, and do you think, in some level, because everybody in the band, I mean, you're going to be turning 20, is it next month or February? Pretty close coming up here.
March 31st.
March. Okay, that's right, the end of March.
Yeah.
But everybody in the band is pretty much in that teen era section. Do you feel like
we're a very young band?
And again, between that, the sexuality, the looks, the Allman name and everything, and then the youth, do you think people have a hard time taking it all seriously because you're so young? Because you're clearly very well spoken and articulate and bright. So
thank you.
People don't expect that from youth these days. So.
I think that all just goes is part of the image. I think that a band needs to have an interesting story and an interesting image to back up the music. Of course, the music comes first and foremost, but a lot of rock and roll, I think, is, people have stopped focusing on the image and they've kind of delved into this homogenized appearance. And I think that it's kind of refreshing to be something different, to be the new kids on the block, to kind of challenge what's accepted in the scene. And I think that this band's mission statement is kind of to bring back the danger and the glamour of rock and roll. And I think, where we are right now, just being young kids pursuing it, wholeheartely, I think we're able to kind of bring something new to the table with that and, be a little bit more image-wise.
Nice. Now, and on the new album, there's, I believe, a surprise guest. Some people might remember him from Billy Idol's band. Do you want to share?
Absolutely. I'm so excited. This is not going to be on the EP, but the secret's definitely out. We got to collaborate with Steve Stevens on Corrupt Me, the title track. He put in a guitar solo, and it absolutely blew our minds. David was able to hook that up, and he was so great to work with. He was so impressed by the band, and he loved the song, and he really worked hard on it. And he did something so different sounding, guitar-wise. I play it for people, and they're like, "Is that a guitar or is that a synth?" I mean, he really pushed the envelope with that and did something inspired, and I think it added something great to the album.
Nice. Now, on the EP itself, and hopefully we'll get on the phone and we'll chat a little bit more as you get closer to releasing the full album. But on the EP Mannequins, I know all the songs you're going to love them and everything, or you wouldn't put them on there, but are there one or two that have extra significance for you?
All the songs on this EP came about a very different way. I think, though, I always have emotional attachment to my piano ballads, and about a year ago I posted a preview of our song Beautiful Disguise, and kids have been highly anticipating it, and I love how much support they give me for our piano ballads, because a lot of times, rock bands, when they do ballads, the fan base can be skeptical, but our fans are really supportive of the slower songs, and I'm really excited to get that one out there to kind of follow up If I Never Wake Again and Forevermore from Wide Awake.
Of course, that's not the one you chose for the first single, which we'll play here at the end of the set. Tell us about the first single.
Torture. Actually, we went into the studio, and Torture wasn't even written. But my friend Alex Niceforo, he's a songwriter and a good friend of mine, he sent me this track with some synthesizers on it, and David heard me playing it. He's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's just a thing my friend wrote with me, and he wanted to use it." And I was like, okay, well, we weren't even planning on this. So I basically sat there and wrote the lyrics on the spot, and then we went in and recorded it the next day, and then it ended up being one of the stronger tracks. And I really love all the electronics we use on it. It's kind of just like a straight-up rock and roll song, and it kind of shows people that, okay, we're moving in this direction now.
You know, you said that you want to bring back the grandiosity to rock music, but the nature of evolution of the music industry has kind of killed the era of the rock star, hasn't it? I mean, I don't think there could ever be another Led Zeppelin-type iconic band in this DIY social networking era, do you?
You know, the internet has changed so much. It's oversaturated the market. It's now instant gratification. You know, bands used to hype albums for years and then release it, but now with the internet, you just got to keep feeding your fans. I think it is attainable, but I think a rock band needs to find the right formula to enroll a fan base that way, because I think, you know, labels are afraid to sign big rock bands because radio is playing, you know, all the indie music and all the, you know, really mellow, you know, type indie rock bands, and it's kind of lost the arena rock and the straight up, you know, what everybody loves about rock and roll. So I just think that I think it's really about the songwriting and how dynamic you are with your fan base and how you can enroll people. I definitely don't think it's impossible. I hope to see a day when rock bands are on top of the music industry again.
Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, I guess to me it seems impossible, or difficult anyway, to cultivate that air of mystery that always went hand in hand with the music to help elevate a band.
Definitely, because you have to be so up close and personal with your fans, but I think that's a great thing. I think use of social networking sites lets fans know who you are, and I think you can use that to your advantage.
So in this era of illegal downloads and a weak economy that basically shows no sign of improvement, how do you entice your fans to support you rather than steal from you and further sort of sound the death knell for rock and roll?
I think you have to get even more up close and personal and use the internet to, you know, be extremely interactive with them, and that will make, I think it's important to know who your fans are and talk to them and learn about them and develop a really close relationship, because then they'll support you. And it's not about selling music anymore. It's about coming to shows. It's about, you know, merchandise. And I think if you can learn your fan base and make, like, merchandise they're going to love and hang out at shows and be available, I think that's really the way to win this day and age. And I think it's more rewarding that way, and I enjoy that aspect of it.
Nice. So for fun, before we get out of here, a couple quick ones. You seem to have a love for skin art, if you will. When did you get your first tattoo? I know you got your name on your inside arm there.
I got my first tattoo when I was 16 with my dad. He actually chose, my name's Layla Brooklyn Allman, but he chose my middle name, Brooklyn, because he liked how it sounded phonetically. So since I was getting my first tattoo with him, I decided to tattoo Brooklyn on my arm, and then people started calling me Brooklyn instead of Layla. I used to only go by Layla, and then that just sort of became my name I'm known as in music. Well,
first off, it's almost the end of the year, so I have to ask, for you, what's the best hard rock or metal album? I know you listen to a lot of pop stuff, but is there a hard rock or metal album that you're really sort of loving this year?
I mean, I don't really know about any hard rock or metal releases, but I was definitely blown away by Muse's The Second Law. I definitely thought In This Moment released a pretty cool album, and I was able to catch that show, and Maria really blew it over the top, and it was really theatrical. I really enjoyed kind of the direction she went with Blood.
And similar in that same vein to you, because she's got the really beautiful voice when she wants it, but she can really get caustic or ugly if she has to. But definitely. She's got, you know, the beautiful piano stuff and then the really raw, angry stuff. So there's some similarity there on some levels. So.
Yeah, well, that was really it's interesting because that was really the first time I ever listened In This Moment. I mean, I've been compared to them for years, and I'm like, well, what is this? And then I stumbled across their video, and I'm like, okay, she's blonde and she screams. That's why everybody compares this. I think stylistically and sonically we're completely different, but I definitely dig what she does.
Absolutely. So, last question then before we get out of here, just for fun. Tell us something about Brooklyn Allman that might surprise people.
Let's see here. Well, I enjoy cooking.
What's your best dish?
Oh, gosh. I think I'd have to go with barbecue chicken pizza.
Barbecue chicken pizza. Oh,
yes.
And I'm sitting here starving. That sounds so good. So, all right, we're going to head out. We're going to listen to Torture from the EP that's released on December 18th, Mannequins. Right now, we're going to tune you guys up. This is Torture from Picture Me Broken.